Hello, reporter room investigators. Come on in, come on in. My name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects and share with you how to do the same thing. No, we're not going to be watching this video over and over again. I have some new information for you that I want to share. So come on in, guys. Please feel free to share this on your socials. We have a lot of stuff to get into. I am doing an expose on this case. What really happened? How did this all break down? We're not going to just play this video over and over and look at it because it's already been debunked. So we're going to take it from there and move forward together. So welcome to Reporter Room. If you like to have all of the information, then you are in the right place. This is a Critical Thinkers channel. So everything I am sharing, I have to CYA myself, is my opinion, and opinions are not facts. So please know that I'm just sharing my opinion with you. Allegedly, in my opinion, don't come for me.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
So, a lot was going on last night. A lot was going on. And, oh my gosh. It's been crazy. Okay, so we for those of you that have, didn't see this, I'm going to just quickly play the video. We're not going to be watching this other than to just give context to people who don't know what the heck I'm talking about. But last night, a private investigator yesterday at 3:55 p.m. Eastern time, a private investigator that was hired, this is FS Investigates, Steve Fischer, by Chris and Katie Proudfoot, said that a new video could, quote, according to the news source, which is WSMV4, said, quote, a new video could help break the case in the continued search for Sebastian Rogers. Is this a false flag? Are we being given a false flag? Are we being manipulated? Now, Steve Fischer said he's focusing on a new video that could be a break in the search for the missing teenager. Steve Fischer said that in the video, if you look closely, there's a person in dark clothing walking in Sebastian's neighborhood at 12:17 a.m. on the night that he disappeared. He says that the person appears to hide behind a car when someone walks a dog, and then the person takes off in the opposite direction. Now, there has been a lot. Law enforcement has already debunked this video. We're just going to look at it just for those of you that have not seen it for context. But law enforcement would have pulled all of the video cameras for all of the houses in the neighborhood early on. And if this had broke, like within a month or two of Sebastian's disappearance, and this had leaked out, I would have probably jumped on it last night, but I didn't, because I just could not believe that law enforcement wouldn't have looked at this. But let's look at this so you just have some context. And then, but we're not going to spend much time on this video because it's, like I said, it's already been debunked. If I can get it to play. There we go. Let me move myself out of the way. All right. So the video purports to see somebody on camera kind of skulking around. And you can see a figure in all black, but law enforcement was very quick to say that this was a nothing burger. And of course, it's, natural for all of us to want to be curious about this. So I can understand why a lot of people covered it, and why some people, didn't cover it. So that's the video. That's it. And you can just make out a figure over to the side. It's a very short little video. And let me just make this smaller. So let me just share this. So what is a false flag? Because I'm calling a false flag on this. So what is a false flag? According to Merriam-Webster, it can be a couple of things, but one of the things is it's a deliberate misrepresentative of motives or identity. And in my opinion, this is a misrepresentative of identity. And I just want to tell you why I believe that. First of all, we have PI Chloe, who was one of the original private investigators in the case, she said, edited to add on to Sumner County Sheriff's Office, they deemed this footage was irrelevant to Sebastian's case 72 hours after he went missing. So Sumner County Sheriff's Office already deemed that this was irrelevant. Okay, so this is one of the private investigators that Seth hired. And then this came out. So I was just looking at all of this last night. Nick Barris also came out. I just want to show you the receipts. Nope, nothing new. Next week's anniversary will mark. So I feel like we're being manipulated. I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to show you why I believe that in just a second. I believe this is a false flag. Nothing. Next week's anniversary will mark a unfortunate milestone, 1 year since 15-year-old Sebastian disappeared from his Hendersonville, Tennessee home. And with that, you can expect more stories on this sad case. So we're going to have to be vigilant that we're not getting other false flags, you guys. Several of you are messaging me about a possible new development. Today, a few media outlets are reporting that a private investigator has discovered a new video supposedly showing somebody in the neighborhood the night that Sebastian disappeared. It's being reported as a possible break in the search for Sebastian. Now, Steve Fischer from SF Investigates walked this back and said he didn't say that it was a possible break. He did not use those words. I'm going to show you receipts for what he said also, because I want to be, fair to everybody. But Nick Barris continues, unfortunately, this is not the case. The Sumner County Sheriff issued this statement to the media, which reported on the story. Quote, law enforcement has had possession of the original video since 72 hours after Sebastian was reported missing. Sheriff's Office continues. After thoroughly investigating this lead, we determined that it has no relevance to the case. So what does this mean? In my opinion, this means that law enforcement has already a working theory on this case, and they've eliminated other things. Why do we have a false flag here? I'm going to share that with you in just a second, but let me just bring some attention to Sebastian. First of all, anybody who has information on this young man right here, Sebastian Rogers, please call 1-800-TBI-FIND. So Dick Barris continues. He says, I have also talked with District Attorney Ray Whitley, who says, no, this is nothing new. They had this video from the beginning and vetted it early on as nothing of relevance. This is not, all caps, a new lead. That's a shame. I wish it was something helpful. There remains, and I think we all feel like that. We all wish it was something helpful. There remains a great deal of misinformation still out on this case. That being said, I'm working on a story for next week that will spell out the very latest in the investigation, including some new details, factual details. Okay, so that's Nick Barris. So I think that I want to just talk to you a little bit. And then I'm going to go into why I believe this is a false flag. So I am just sharing my opinion on this, and opinions are not facts. So I'm going to give you guys a speculation warning, but I do believe that law enforcement has a working theory on the case, and it bothers me a lot, that we heard from SF Investigates, and let me just show you the receipts on that. Let me grab this. I think this is it. Yeah. Okay. So we heard from SF Investigates. He's been walking this back. So he said the surveillance video released by the media was met with a vague response from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. So he's literally attacking the Sheriff's Office in this post that he posted on X, Twitter, which failed to clarify all of the individuals present during the time frame have been accounted for. Let me move this out of the way. I was shocked by the admission that it took 72 hours to retrieve surveillance video from immediate neighbors in an Amber Alert case, but that is a separate issue. Well, but we've also heard that this is Chris Proudfoot, so take that with a grain of salt. But Chris Proudfoot said there were neighbors that were out of town that had to give permission for their video camera. So I don't think that is that shocking in light of what Chris Proudfoot has told us, which is that there were neighbors out of town that had to access that had to give law enforcement permission. So it may have taken a day or two to get in touch with people and then to access it. So I don't think 72 hours. Yes, I wish it would have been faster, but 72 hours to I don't think it's as big of a deal as, Steve Fischer thinks it is, just in light of the fact that there may have been people out of town. So, but he said that's a separate issue. In an Amber Alert. Now, remember, I told you on the last live stream, Amber Alert means that the law enforcement believes that Sebastian was abducted. So remember, they dismissed Green Hoodie person, and rightfully so. But they said they tracked down, thoroughly interviewed the person. The real question and the real purpose of this discussion is to ask Sumner County Sheriff's Office and their state and federal partners why they have given up the search for Sebastian Rogers. Now, we don't know that to be true or not true, but but he continues on. So he got caught flat-footed because this, news story ran with the headline that, this was a big break in the case. And he's saying he did not say that. So he got caught flat-footed on this a little bit. So I can understand why he's pushing back. So let's see what else he had to say on this. And this is the statement from law enforcement. I just want to show you the receipts. Law enforcement has said the possession of the original video has had possession of the original video since 72 hours after Sebastian was reported missing. And after thoroughly investigating this lead, we have determined it has no relevance to the case. So what I guess my question is, if you thought you had a video, why wouldn't you have checked with the Sumner County Sheriff's Office before you put it out like this? But it sounds like this video was supposed to come out with an interview that Katie Proudfoot has done. So this was all supposed to sync, and which is why Steve Fischer says that he didn't know this was coming out when it came out. Maybe he had made a deal that Katie gave the interview and they were supposed to release this. And this is why I'm saying, are we being manipulated? Is this a false flag? And I'm not imputing SF Investigates or Steve Fischer, but I just, I'm just want to know. So he said the surveillance video released by the media was met with a vague response. And I just went through this. Let me get to the next one. Tony Mathis has made it clear to multiple media outlets. Let me move myself out of the way. Has to multiple media contacts that he has been told exactly what the Sumner County Sheriff's Office working theory is. So that's got to be driving Chris and Katie Proudfoot crazy. And remember, they're the ones that hired SF Investigates. And I'm going to go into what I think is really going on here in just a second, but let me just lay the groundwork out. So this is Steve Fischer continuing from SF Investigates. He says, so, this has got to be driving. If this is true, that the Sumter County Sheriff's Office is communicating with Seth, and I don't know if that's true or not true, but Tony Mathis, that's Seth's manager, is saying that he made it clear to multiple media contacts, this according to Steve Fischer. If this is true, I'm putting the caveat if, because I don't know. But regardless of this theory, if one even exists, so Steve Fischer is going all in on attacking the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. If this even exists, Sebastian is still out there. No matter the circumstances of his disappearance, he still needs to be found. Where were all the searches that were supposed to ramp back up last fall? I was brought in to help locate Sebastian. So he was brought in, to be clear, by Chris and Katie Proudfoot. And Chris and Katie Proudfoot, in my opinion, don't have room to criticize law enforcement for searches or lack thereof, because I have not seen them ever come out to any of the prayer vigils or to any of the searches and thank the searchers. They refused to meet with dog handlers that wanted to, look for Sebastian's scent and trace it out there. They did cooperate with law enforcement early on, but they never searched, to our knowledge, themselves. Okay. So I just want to, and I'm going to tell you why I think this is a false flag. I'm just laying the groundwork for you, and then we're going to dig into why this is a false flag. So he says, I was brought in to help locate Sebastian. So Chris and Katie hired SF Investigates to help locate Sebastian. So while much of the world is playing detective, fixating on theories about what they believe happened to him, I have always left that to law enforcement. Well, always left that to law enforcement, but you did release that video to the media So, uh, and I think if he wanted to check with law enforcement before he released the video, he could have done that too. So I'm not, I think Steve Fischer is a good private investigator. I just want to say that he did a good job on the Riley Strain case. Um, but I just feel like there was like ways to like not fall into this mess that we have now. Um, but I just want to lay the groundwork of why I believe this is a false flag. He says, I've always left it to law enforcement. My job is to find Sebastian, and it would be helpful to have the support of the agencies that should be leading the effort. And that makes me wonder, why wouldn't the agencies want to communicate with the private? Because we know from PI Chloe and PI Heather, and we talked about PI Heather. I showed you video of her talking about this domino effect, and also about the CPS reports, and juxtaposing that with Chris Proudfoot's statement on the last live stream I did, which shows that Chris Proudfoot lied. But he said his job is to find Sebastian, and I want him to do his job. I am welcoming anybody that wants to come in and look. I'm happy that Steve Fischer is out there looking for Sebastian. I am not one of these people that's like pro this person or pro that person. I think all hands on deck, anybody who's willing to help. But he said, my job is to find Sebastian. It would be helpful to have the support of the agencies that should be leading the effort. So that makes me wonder, okay, so now we're finding out that the agencies are not supporting SF Investigates, at least according to him. We haven't heard their side of it. So do they have a working theory already in regards to Chris and Katie Proudfoot? And are they not cooperating with SF Investigates because of his being employed by Chris and Katie Proudfoot? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's continue on. I'm just laying the groundwork, and then we're going to dig into why I believe this is a false flag. So please stay with me. Okay, so Katie and Chris must be really upset that Tony Mathis has got this information. So he continues on. He goes, Sebastian did not evaporate from this earth. And I agree. He didn't evaporate from inside Chris and Katie's house. Whether he's found alive or has tragically passed, he needs to be found. We all agree with SF Investigates on this. Is it too much to ask for a clear briefing on the efforts to find him instead of ambiguous, dismissive statements? Or are there simply no efforts to report? So he is really going after law enforcement on this. Our questions about the 12:12 a.m., 12:17 a.m., and other individuals present during that time frame are legitimate concerns. Well, maybe to law enforcement, because he's coming in, almost a year later, and coming in behind them. To them, it wasn't new news. I don't know why Steve didn't run this by law enforcement before he released it to the media. And why the media is reporting that he said it was a break in the case, that this is what Steve said. So somebody's not telling the truth. I don't know who. I don't know, but I feel like we are being gaslit here. But I'm wondering also if there's a reason that law enforcement doesn't want to cooperate with the private investigator that's hired by Chris and Katie Proudfoot. Do they already have a working theory? Remember, we have not seen the body cam footage of when they arrived at Katie Proudfoot's home. We have not heard the original story that she told law enforcement about the date Sebastian disappeared. So he continues on, and I do think SF Investigates is a good private investigator. But in this case, I feel like, this is this was like I don't think releasing it to the media without checking with law enforcement first, and maybe just seeing if, and maybe they were ambiguous. Maybe they just want to let the private investigator for Chris and Katie, you know, I feel like they have a working theory on this case. I feel like they need Sebastian to prove it. That's my opinion. Allegedly, in my opinion, don't come for me. And I'm going to tell you why in just a second. He says, quote, but the bigger question remains, why aren't you actively looking for Sebastian Rogers? Where's the search effort that were promised? I hope these questions are not too ambiguous for you. So I'm all in if he wants to put pressure on law enforcement. But I just also think that law enforcement knows a lot that we don't know. So that's what he had to say. He's, obviously upset. This is like kind of backlash. And then this is what He also posted on Twitter, he said, "One more time, I'm a missing persons investigator. My sole focus is on finding evidence that leads to the missing person." And Steve Fischer did do a really good job in the Riley Strain case. Riley Strain's family was very happy with the job he did for them. So he's done good work. And he did good work in the Kylie Rodney case too. So I just want to say that caveat. I don't think that law enforcement let this all play out the way that it did because of Steve Fischer. I think this all played out the way that it did because of Chris and Katie Proudfoot. I think they could have maybe cleared it up. I don't know, but I don't know if Steve ever went to law enforcement and said, "I have this video. I was thinking about releasing it to the media. What do you guys think?" Did he do that? If he didn't, then, if he just released it and it was going to be released together with an interview for Chris and Katie, with an interview with Katie Proudfoot, and it was all supposed to be released around the 1-year anniversary of when Sebastian disappeared, which is in, he was last seen in 3 days from now on the 25th of February of 2024. And he was reported missing on February the 26th of 2024. So I feel like if law enforcement if Chris and Katie are hearing, maybe they hired Steve Fischer. Speculation warning, in my opinion, allegedly. Don't come for me. Did Chris and Katie Proudfoot hire Steve Fischer because they heard that Tony Mathis was getting information on the case that they weren't getting, and they were hoping that by hiring their own PI, they would be able to have access to the information, and law enforcement just simply is not cooperating with anyone that's affiliated with Chris and Katie Proudfoot. Again, this doesn't impugn the reputation of Steve Fischer or the good work that he's done in the past. But maybe law enforcement has a working theory on this case already, and they don't want to give the information out of what their working theory is to the Proudfoots. I don't know. He said, so never in any case am I trying to build a case to incriminate or defend anyone. The missing person will always tell their own story, either themselves or through science. While some evidence may overlap with law enforcement investigation, I am not a district attorney and not law enforcement. In every case I work, my only goal is to find the missing person. I am a missing person's investigator, and the determination of a criminal conduct is law enforcement. I believe him. He concludes with, "It does not matter if you disagree with my approach. I will stand on my track record of recovered missing persons against anyone else." I think he's a good private investigator on my part, but I think law enforcement may not want to cooperate with any private investigator affiliated with Chris and Katie Proudfoot, and they may know something that we don't know. So I'm not impugning Steve. And I want to dig, and I just want to share. So I think this is a false flag. So now I just want to share why I believe this. So let me take this down and let me present this. I am going to check in with chat. I'm sorry. I'm not ignoring you. I just want to make sure. Okay. So this goes back. Let me make sure I'm not blocking your view. I'm not. Okay. So this goes back to Dog the Bounty Hunter. Okay. And just full disclosure, Dog and the Bounty Hunter and I am not like friends with him or anything like that, but he and I do follow each other on Twitter. We've both been on Twitter a long time. And I was verified on Twitter. So, I just want to put full disclosure, but I don't know him. So I'm not, but I just want to just dig into some of the stuff that, he's says is going on. This is AtNight's thing. And I know some people have been like poo-pooed it, but I feel like anybody who wants to come help, if it wouldn't have been for Dog the Bounty Hunter, we would not have known. The law enforcement knew, but we in the social media platform would not have known that Brian Laundrie and his parents went camping to Fort DeSoto when he got home. So listen to this. So this is AtNight. This is related back to Dog the Bounty Hunter. And it says, in a disturbing turn, so this is why I feel like, this is a false flag. In a disturbing turn of events, Christopher and Katie Proudfoot, Sebastian's stepfather and mother, have recently conducted local searches treating Sebastian as though he were hit by a car and abandoned despite zero evidence pointing to such a tragedy. And I'm just wondering if this is why Steve Fischer was brought on board. And again, I'm not blaming Steve Fischer. I do think he is a really good private investigator. Did he mess up by releasing that video without getting an okay from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office? I don't know. I don't know if they just said, okay, go ahead and release it, and just thought, let's just see what happens. But it does feel like if what he's saying about Tony Mathis is getting this information, it seems like they're cooperating with Seth and Tony Mathis and not cooperating with Chris and Katie Proudfoot, which makes me wonder why. That was the first thing that popped into my head last night. Why? So then I started to try to dig into why, what's going on, who might know. So according to AtNight's investigators, there's no basis for a local hit and run scenario, nor have the Proudfoots exhibited meaningful urgency since Sebastian vanished. And that's why I think it's rich for anybody in the Proudfoot camp to be pointing fingers at anybody else for not searching. Okay. That's just my opinion. But haven't really seen, Katie left the house. Law enforcement told her they didn't want her to search, so they wanted her to be there in case he came back. A couple weeks later, we find out on Nancy Grace, she's gone. She's gone. She's accompanied her husband, who's perfectly capable of going to work by himself. He went to work by himself the whole month of February. Chris Proudfoot's perfectly capable of going by himself. And then we find out there's the CPS visit. And Chris Proudfoot's telling Nancy Grace, it's, 3 years ago. And then we hear from Heather, who's a private investigator for Seth, saying that there was like a case that was closed in February, in the weeks leading up to. So is that the reason Chris Proudfoot didn't come home? Because if it did, I think Chris Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot, in my opinion, law enforcement's there's got to be a reason that they're not cooperating with the Proudfoots. That's all I'm saying. This is my opinion of why they're not. I think they have a scenario that they're working with. And I'm not saying the Proudfoots did anything to Sebastian, but something went off the rails. So throughout the months following Sebastian's disappearance, Christopher and Katie Proudfoot have traveled extensively for non-search related purposes. So they've got to have hate that this got posted. Chris and Katie monitor everything. We know because they've they've made phone calls into people's live streams. They come up onto the chat. And Chris goofed up when he was talking to Smiley Story World. And I showed you that in the last live stream that I did, that he said that Sebastian was 15. Well, that's the age Sebastian was when he disappeared. So this whole CPS thing was not 3 years ago. And now we're hearing that there was like between 3 and 5 CPS reports on Chris Proudfoot. This would be a motive, in my opinion, for Chris Proudfoot not to come home, but also a motive for him, not to want Sebastian in the house. Remember, they were trying to get Seth to take Sebastian, because having those CPS reports being opened one after another would have impaired his ability to get custody of Faith, in my opinion. So let's listen into what the team for Dog the Bounty Hunter says. Throughout the months following Sebastian's disappearance, Christopher and Katie Proudfoot have traveled extensively for non-search related purposes. Financial statements, travel itineraries, and multiple eyewitness accounts suggest they embarked on vacations, made large or interesting transactions, and consistently cut ties with personal contacts who questioned their behavior. Okay, let's dig into this some more. And this is AtNight Private underscores its determination. So in a disturbing turn of events, I'm just going to skip over what their mission statement is. You guys can look at it. It's on Facebook. This is my sourcing. So in a disturbing turn of events, Christopher and Katie Proudfoot, Sebastian's stepfather and mother, have recently conducted local searches treating Sebastian as though he were hit by a car and abandoned, despite zero evidence pointing to such a tragedy. If the Proudfoots possessed information justifying this grim outlook, it raises serious questions as to whether they are withholding critical details, notably, so If this is what Dog the Bounty Hunter and his team think, allegedly, is this also what law enforcement thinks? Remember, according to SF Investigates, they're talking to Tony Mathis, who is the manager of Seth Rogers. Notably, they have declined genuine assistance. This is the Proudfoots, have declined genuine assistance from AtNight while staging they put this in quotes, search in a wooded area already combed by thousands of law enforcement officers, a move AtNight deemed a disingenuous distraction. Again, is this a false flag? Are we being manipulated at the 1-year anniversary of when Sebastian disappeared? AtNight deems a disingenuous distraction. And is that what this video was supposed to be? Was this supposed to be a distraction for us at the 1-year anniversary? And is that why this video was supposed to be released together with this interview with Katie Proudfoot? Let me know what you think. Put a 1 in the chat if you think, yes, this was meant to be a distraction. It was supposed to be, because Steve Fischer tells us that the video was supposed to come out with Katie Proudfoot. He was caught off guard when it came out yesterday. This is what he's told us. So he was surprised it came out then. Maybe he was waiting for law enforcement to give him more information, and the press jumped the gun. But so AtNight deems a disingenuous distraction that undermines credible leads spanning multiple states. Such a misguided or malicious search can potentially shield wrongdoing which carries criminal implications. By contrast, AtNight urges the public to engage only in legitimate efforts aimed at bringing Sebastian home safely. According to the AtNight investigators, there's no basis for a local hit and run scenario, nor have the Proudfoots exhibited meaningful urgency since Sebastian vanished. Now, let's go into their timeline of concern and disruption. I am going to say hello to chat. I just want to dig into all this. Let me just make sure I'm not like somebody's telling me we can't hear you. And I'm okay. So I am going to check in with you guys. I just do want to dig into this because I do want to dig into this because this is, helping to make the case. I believe this was a false flag. I believe this was intentional, not on the part of Steve Fischer. I just want to make that clear. I'm not imputing his integrity, but I think that, this was meant to be a distraction with that interview that Katie gave, allegedly, in my opinion. So, timeline of concern and disruption. Initial disappearance, February 25th of 2025. Sebastian vanishes from the Proudfoot home under circumstances the family has yet to fully explain. Seth Rogers, alarmed by his son's abrupt absence, immediately mobilizes a private search, tirelessly dedicating personal resources and traveling across the country to track potential sightings. Remember when that boy, when we posted that picture of a boy that looked like Sebastian that was seen, and it turns out it wasn't Sebastian. Seth Rogers traveled there to talk to law enforcement to find out if it was his son. Chris and Katie didn't. Just, and law enforcement's got to be looking at the same thing that these other investigators are looking at. Refusal of professional aid. Despite overtures from AtNight and other well-known investigative figures such as Dog the Bounty Hunter, and I know not everybody loves Dog the Bounty Hunter. I do. I think he has a good heart. I think, I welcome anybody, Steve Fischer, Dog the Bounty Hunter, anybody who wants to help search for Sebastian. Let's go, bring it, because we all want him to be found. So, such as Dog the Bounty Hunter, Christopher and Katie Proudfoot declined offers of professional assistance, insisting local law enforcement had the matter in hand. And that's what they said. And this was posted on the 24th of December. But here we have Steve Fischer now claiming that the Proudfoots are telling him that they are not doing the searches that they promised. So which is it? Do the law enforcement have the matter well in hand and you don't want the help of investigators unless you're paying them and controlling it? AtNight enters the search on September 3rd of 2024, publicly announcing its partnership with Seth Rogers. AtNight leverages cutting-edge investigative tools and a broad network of licensed experts to ramp up search efforts. Almost immediately, the Proudfoots and their social media allies, and this is so sad that we've gotten to the point where we are divided, not based on information, but based on if who we think is innocent and who we like and who we don't like. We should all be on Team Sebastian. And if you guys, don't think that the Proudfoots have done anything wrong and they haven't been charged with a thing, I just want to make that clear. They are innocent. They haven't been charged with anything. If you think Seth, hasn't done anything wrong, that's fine. But let's just talk about this in terms of the information that we have. So the Proudfoots and their social media allies launch a barrage of unfounded allegations aimed at discrediting AtNight and disrupting active leads. And we know there's a lawsuit involved in this. And this is not the first time we've heard about people disrupting people who are trying to search for Sebastian. So please don't do this, you guys. Whether you like Chris Proudfoot and their private investigator, SF Investigates, Steve Fischer, or whether you like Dog the Bounty Hunter, doesn't matter. We should want all of them to come in and investigate. We should support everybody's efforts. Nobody should be disrupting anything. Please don't do that. Misinformation campaign in at least 7 states, local, state, and federal agencies have been flooded with false reports orchestrated by Proudfoot associates. This isn't me saying this. This is AtNight. These actions sow confusion, drain investigative resources, and I've always told you, somebody ran off United Cajun Navy. Somebody does not want Sebastian found. These actions sow confusion, drain investigative resources, and divert attention away from legitimate tips that could help find Sebastian. And that's what I feel like this video is. Law enforcement's probably being inundated with all the stuff related to the video and what people saw instead of legitimate tips. And they already knew about this video. They've had it since the 3rd day. Online shifts in narrative. In December, Chris Proudfoot reemerged on YouTube to downplay interactions with AtNight and Dog the Bounty Hunter, contradicting earlier statements and documented evidence. AtNight reiterates it will not collaborate with individuals under criminal investigation, including Chris and Katie Proudfoot or their affiliates. Let me just say that one more time. AtNight and Dog the Bounty Hunter contradicted earlier statements documenting evidence. AtNight reiterates that it will not collaborate with individuals under criminal investigation, including Christopher and Katie Proudfoot or their affiliates. Okay? So this is why false flag, you guys. All right, let's continue. I am going to check in with chat. I'm like, so sorry. Let me just make sure I'm still on the air. I don't even know. All right, let's continue. There's a lot to unpack here. Renewed focus, expanded search operations on December 21st. AtNight announced expanded sweeps into multiple regions. Springdale, Arkansas, Memphis, Tennessee. Now that's where Chris Proudfoot was working, right? At the St. Jude's Hospital. DeSoto County, Mississippi. Chesapeake, Virginia. Santa Fe, New Mexico. That's where, isn't Nina Gomez from New Mexico? Stanley, Wisconsin. Did they go interview Nina to find out some more information? I don't know. Maybe because Chris Proudfoot used to live in New Mexico. I don't know. Professional investigators licensed in Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Virginia, New Mexico, Wisconsin, Oregon, plus volunteers in surrounding areas are invited to bolster the search teams currently stationed in Memphis, Tennessee, and neighboring regions. So if you guys are a private investigator, AtNight will welcome your assistance. AtNight approach prioritizes safeguarding potential evidence and preserving the integrity of any legitimate lead. Quote, we firmly believe Sebastian is alive, says AtNight's lead investigator, despite the Proudfoot's recent theatrics. And is that what we just got with this video, which was supposed to be released, according to what Steve Fischer tells us? It was supposed to be released at the 1-year anniversary of Sebastian Rogers. And that's around the time we're going to get this interview, allegedly, reportedly, with Katie Proudfoot. So is this all theatrics? Is this a false flag? Despite the Proudfoot's recent theatrics, the most credible leads point to areas beyond Sumner County. We will not waste resources on staged media events. Our aim is to locate Sebastian and return him to his father safely. And I do wonder if this whole thing with the video and then Katie's supposed to do this interview, if this was all supposed to be released together, if this was a coordinated effort to control the narrative at the 1-year anniversary of Sebastian's disappearance. What do you guys think? Are you watching closely? So, debunking the wooded area diversion. Woo, they are like taking them apart. On September 20, and this is just one. I have another one that I'm going to show you guys in just a second. On September 29th, 2024, Christopher Proudfoot, joined by self-proclaimed private eyes and online personalities, ventured into a wooded area, theorizing that Sebastian could have been hit by a vehicle and abandoned among the bush. According to the AtNight analysis and law enforcement records, these areas were already thoroughly searched for weeks after Sebastian's disappearance, producing no valid evidence. So, is law enforcement not communicating with Chris and Katie Proudfoot for a reason? Or is this just a staged diversion so that they can claim that they have searched? Because one of the big criticisms has been they didn't search. So till September 29th, they finally search, but they're only searching in areas that have already been cleared by law enforcement. Quote, this area was swept by law enforcement teams armed with canine units, drones, and volunteer lines. The investigator continued, revisiting those woods months later with a camera crew doesn't move us any closer to finding Sebastian. So they are just taking Chris and Katie apart here. Evidence of disengagement. Throughout the months following Sebastian's disappearance, Christopher and Katie Proudfoot have traveled extensively for non-search related purposes. Bank statements, travel itinerary, and multiple eyewitness accounts suggest they embarked on vacations, made large or interesting financial transactions, and consistently cut ties with personal contacts who questioned their behavior. We saw them with one photograph of them, or two photographs of them, shopping for a motorcycle. Instead of going to the prayer vigils, instead of thanking searchers, instead of helping to search themselves, they're taking vacations. Is one of the purchases a motorcycle? In stark contrast, Seth Rogers has missed work days, driven across state lines on minimal notice, and canvassed neighborhoods to chase up every credible need. These parallel realities have escalated public concern over who is genuinely committed to Sebastian's safe return. So I'm not here to be the Seth Rogers apologist. These are not my words, so don't hate the messenger. But this is what AtNight is saying. So AtNight Private Intelligence Agency specializes in high-risk efforts and consultation services, mobilizing a global network of licensed professionals, advanced investigative technology, and legal counsel. And so there is a lawsuit about this right now. And then we're going to dig into the next thing. I'm just getting started. All right, let me check in with chat. I'm like, so sorry. Usually I'm more interactive. If you guys want to come up and talk to me, please do. I just do want to just take this apart because I just feel like we are being gaslit, in my opinion. There's brother Mike. Hey, Mike, this is Mike and Enjas are our head mods. Six Sense Amelia, I haven't seen her today, but she's another head mod. Patricia's here, Las Vegas, Veronica. Hi, Pepper. So come on in, guys. I'm gonna dig in. I'm not even done. I haven't even gone through my script. I don't know if I'm gonna get through all of it. I had 12 pages on Brian Kohlberger today, and I only got through 6. So I have a whole nother show to do on Brian Kohlberger. Princess Elsa's here. Pepper's here. See who else is here. Come on up and talk to me. Holly's here. Happy Saturday to you as well. Pepper said, Veronica and Las Vegas girl, we could start our own land for misfit toys or Crime Stoppers. And Justice to welcome everybody. Jackie, welcome. Jackie's a newer channel member. Jackie says hello. So come on in, guys. Bring me your questions. I want to know what you guys think. Please give this a thumbs up and let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. If you're watching this on replay, I really want to hear from you. If you think that law enforcement is not cooperating with Chris and Katie Proudfoot because they have misgivings about them. I'm not saying they did anything to it. I'm just asking if this is what law enforcement thinks. Hey, Pen Jam. Hi, Lucy. Veronica said he gave that video to them. Yeah, Steve Fischer reportedly gave the video. Now, I don't know if this was at the behest of the Proudfoots. And I really do get the feeling, hi, Kim, I really do get the feeling that Chris and Katie Proudfoot had like planned to have that video come out with Katie's interview in an effort to control the narrative on the 1-year anniversary that Sebastian disappeared. Hi, Christine. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. Let YouTube know this is a G-rated show, because there's going to be people that are not going to be happy with what I'm reporting, that are going to do what they can to try to, keep me from getting the word out. Like, who doesn't want searchers to be looking? Who ran off United Cajun Navy? Why do we have all of these people being run off on a missing persons search? That should not be happening. Veronica said law enforcement said they had that video 72 hours after he went missing. They went through it and said that's not of evidentiary value. Sheriff Craddock called all the news stations today and told them. Thank you, Veronica. And no 1 year and no answers. Dan Jess says, I hope somebody will say something about the case on the anniversary. I hope so too. Thank you so much, Pepper. Okay, so I think the one thing we did learn from the video, that we've had people saying, oh, well, he was wearing all black. He had black pants, but it had a white stripe on him. But he was wearing all black, and that's why none of the cameras in the neighborhood could pick him up. Well, this person was in all black, and the cameras in the neighborhood picked this person up on the video I showed you at the top. I'm not going to rehash the video because law enforcement is saying it's a nothing burger. I believe them. Thank you so much to Mike for the $2 super sticker. Thank you so much to NJAZ for gifting a reporter room membership. And NJAZ has been gifting memberships to lots of, if you are here, and Jody Blonde, it looks like you got the membership, so congratulations. So thank you to Brother Mike, thank you to NJAZ, and welcome to Jody Blonde. Okay, so we have a Facebook group if you want to come talk to us. And it is a great group. Mike's right. Manas Smoke said SF lies. He's full of it. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, but let's continue digging this, because I think this was, I'm not saying this was FS Investigates plan. Okay. I'm not saying that he was involved in this, but I think there was a plan for Katie to allegedly, in my opinion, give this interview to the press, and that this new video showing something new that we've never seen before was supposed to be given with that. And it was supposed to control the narrative at the 1-year anniversary of Sebastian's disappearance. I think that was the plan, and it just fell apart. And I'm not saying that Steve was part of that plan. I'm just saying that I think that, in my opinion, allegedly, that was the plan, that we were going, and I feel like we've been gaslit. And I don't like that. Miss Jess says, Sebastian Rogers' case is a social experiment and people are failing miserable. Hey, Ann, welcome. I'm so glad you came up to talk to me in the top chat. Okay. Brother Mike says, Proudfoots only look at a motorcycle dealer. Right. They didn't go to, we thought, well, maybe they're going to do the ride in that motorcycle ride. Right. Nope. All right. Let's continue on with the next one. Okay. So the first one I just shared with you, that's from December 24th of 2024. This is from December 26th. Dog the Bounty Hunter and partners address Christopher Proudfoot's false claims. Dog the Bounty Hunter and his partners are addressing the demonstrably false statements made by Christopher Proudfoot, stepfather of missing Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers during a recent public appearance. So it looks like multiple people are calling Chris Proudfoot out for not telling the truth. I called him out. He was caught lying to Nancy Grace. I proved it with the video with Heather. He lied about the CPS, and also with Smiley stories. And that was Jay is for Justice put that together with the Smiley stories, and that that he lied. He lied about the CPS. So here's what they're claiming. They're saying on a YouTube panel, Mr. Proudfoot falsely claimed that Dog the Bounty Hunter and his team never attempted to contact him regarding efforts to locate Sebastian. This statement is demonstrably false and contradicted by documented communications from Mr. Proudfoot and his wife, Katie Proudfoot. Documented communication timeline. So let's go through it. Let's go. September 8th, 2024, AtNight, and Dog the Bounty Hunter received a text message from Miss Katie Proudfoot's phone, which reads, quote, any communication to myself or my husband should go through law enforcement. Contact them, not us. And their conclusion was based on anomalies in the language and tone. It's probable that this message was sent by Mr. Christopher Proudfoot using Mrs. Proudfoot's phone. That wouldn't be surprising. He jumped in and talks over Katie on every single interview, just about, except when Nancy Grace wanted to ask him about the CPS calls. Then I think he squeezed Katie's hand under the table. He leans back and Katie leans forward to take that question. And then Nancy says, I want to hear from Christopher Proudfoot. 2. The following day, Dog's high-risk fugitive task force receives a second formal text message from Mr. Proudfoot's phone. The message stated, quote, Nick and Dog the Bounty Hunter's high-risk fugitive task force, quote, consider this your only formal and only message from my wife, Katie, and myself. Quote, do not for any reason or circumstances contact us in any way. Quote, if you need to contact us, you need to reach out to the Sumner County Sheriff's Office or Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. Quote, thank you for your time and attention to this matter. Signed, Chris and Katie Proudfoot. So this is the claim from AtNight. Both texts, and I think there's a lawsuit about this too, demonstrate a deliberate attempt by Christopher and Katie Proudfoot to block direct communication from Dog the Bounty Hunter and his team. So they reached out. Chris and Katie didn't want them to help. Who's running off all the searchers? And I think just seeing how controlling Chris and Katie Proudfoot have been through this, in my opinion, allegedly, don't come for me, I think they're trying to control the narrative on this as well. I think they wanted to control the narrative at the 1-year anniversary, which is why we got this video that Steve Fischer was surprised it came out yesterday, because I think that was supposed to come out at the same time as Katie Proudfoot's interview. And if I were a media outlet, I would still release the interview, but I would be like fact checking everything she said and sharing that as well. 3, additional communication. Dog and his partners, that's Dog the Bounty Hunter, also attempted to contact through group text messages involving Katie Proudfoot, Steve Fischer, and Christopher Proudfoot. These efforts were met with no cooperation or substantive engagement. Now we're going into misleading public statements. Despite these documented communications, Mr. Proudfoot falsely claimed during a YouTube panel, this is not the first time Chris Proudfoot has allegedly, in my opinion, don't come for me, been caught lying. Mr. Proudfoot falsely claimed during a YouTube panel that Dog the Bounty Hunter had not reached out to him. This claim is both untrue and misleading, as Mr. Proudfoot explicitly instructed Dog and his team not to contact him, Chris Proudfoot, or his wife, that would be Katie, directly. And it was signed Chris and Katie. These false statements harm public trust, distract from the critical search for Sebastian, and misrepresent the facts. Let's continue. Dog and the Bounty Hunter and his partners are urging Chris Proudfoot to immediately stop making false and inaccurate public statements. These lies are not only absurd, but also harmful to public trust. In addition, Dogg's team is exploring civil legal avenues to address any damage caused by these misrepresentations. And I do believe there is legal action on this already. Despite these distractions, the focus remains on uncovering the truth and ensuring justice for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who disappeared on February 25th, 2024. And then they give the most important information. If you have any credible information, please contact Sumner County Sheriff's Office at 615-451-3838, TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND, or the FBI tips lines at tips.fbi.gov. You can also contact Dog the Bounty Hunter, because not everybody likes to be in contact with law enforcement, at 833-TELL-DOG, and AtNight, Sebastian at Manhunts 1. So about the case, and it talks about the case. So let's look at this. All right, so there's Sebastian's information. Now let's look at the receipts together. Okay, so there's a voicemail. Nick and Dog the Bounty Hunter, high risk fugitive task force. This is the receipts. Here's the receipts. So I'm showing you the receipts. That this is signed Chris and Katie Proudfoot. Consider this your formal and only message from my wife Katie and myself. Do not, for any reasons or circumstances, contact us in any way. Again, if you need to contact us, you need to reach out to the Sumner County Sheriff's Office or TBI Investigations. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. VR, Chris and Katie Proudfoot. Okay, so there you go. Receipts. And there's Sebastian's missing information. Here's this. If you fear your husband and want to speak in private away from him, reply with the number 2 and delete the text. Then call this number when you are away from Christopher. We will be coming Tuesday to speak with him. So that's what they sent to Katie. And then they got the response. Any communication to myself or my husband should go through law enforcement, not contact us directly. So they were trying to get Katie to speak in private away from Chris. And that's why they believe Chris wrote this message and not Katie. I don't know if they did or didn't. But they sure didn't want to talk to them. All right. Let me check in with chat. Now I'm going to keep this up of Sebastian. So I think we got a false flag on this. And I think we should be welcoming all of the private investigators that want to investigate this. I don't care if they're on Seth's team. I don't care if they're on Chris and Katie's team. I think, we want as many hands on deck. We're all Team Sebastian, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about supporting our favorite content creators. It's not about supporting our favorite private investigators. It's not about supporting our favorite media personality. This is about supporting the search for Sebastian. And so I want to know who ran off the United Cajun Navy when they were trying to search. Who's been running people off from trying to investigate? So I feel like this is a false flag. Diane says, Jay, I agree with your assessment of SF in relation to the Proudfoot. No doubt their lack of action, demeanor, and Chris Proudfoot's lying and offensive remarks don't help Mr. Fischer. The Proudfoot have no credibility. And I'm just wondering if that's why law enforcement just let it go. They were like, yeah, you can put that out if you want to. We're going to debunk it, but you can put it out if you want to. Thank you so much, Veronica. Yeah, please put your DNA on the thumbs up button. Because there's going to be. Okay, so let's see. We got 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Raquel says, what do you think would be a distraction? What do you think it would be a distraction from, though? What do you think what do you think an it is? I'm like, just want to make sure we're on the same page. What do you think it would be a distraction from? Raquel, what do you think it is? Because I'm not, maybe you had another comment and I missed it, but I'm not, just want to make sure I'm answering the question that you're asking me. A 1 from Jody, a 1 from Christine. Here said, this case really bothers me. This child needed protection from the people who should have loved and protected him. And I think that's evidenced by the CPS, you guys. I'm sorry, but just hearing that there was like multiple cases. And then why is Chris on Smiley Story World, saying that, yeah, it was related to the belt incident. but he's on Nancy Grace saying it was 3 years ago and not related to the belt incident. Victoria says one. Hey, Lori, glad you're here. Thanks for joining me today. Cindy said this distraction has become quite popular in a lot of these horrific cases. Yeah, it is. Is that what you're talking about on the distraction? I feel so. What do I think this false flag was distracting us from? It was distracting us from, it was a way to control, in my opinion, allegedly, by putting out this video and purporting it to be new, even though Sumner County Sheriff's Office is telling us they knew about this, after they collected all the doorbell camera within the first 3 days, they knew about this video. It's not new. So it's almost a year old. So I think it's a way to control the narrative. And if they really believe, like what SF Investigates, that's why I wanted to show you that. Let me just show you in case you're joining me just now. If you really believe that what FS Investigates said about, let me take this down, Kim. Tony Mathis has made it clear to multiple media contacts. Whoop. Hold on. So this is from SF Investigates. He did like a thread here. So he says, SF Investigates said Tony Mathis has made it clear to multiple media contacts that he has been told exactly what the Sumner County Sheriff's Office working theory is, and that he is briefing with them daily. So this is what SF Investigates has been told by somebody. I'm assuming it's his clients, Chris and Katie Proudfoot, or maybe he's just hearing Tony Mathis talk about it. I don't know. But regardless of their theory, if one even exists, and I think they do have a theory, I do think there's a theory. Sebastian is still out there. No matter the circumstances of his disappearance, he still needs to be found. I agree. Were all those searches that were supposed to ramp up last fall? Where were all the searches that were supposed to ramp up last fall? Well, I was brought in to help locate Sebastian. While much of the world is playing detective, fixating on theories about what they believe happened to him, I've always left that to law enforcement. My job is to help find Sebastian, and it would be helpful to have the support of the agencies that should be leading the effort. So if this is my opinion, if you wanted to control the narrative on the 1-year anniversary of Sebastian's disappearance, and you were concerned that law enforcement's cooperating with Seth and maybe not cooperating with you, and you were being called out by AtNight, and there's a lawsuit about this after you went on camera and told people that Dog the Bounty Hunter never reached out to you. And then, you think that law enforcement is cooperating with Tony Mathis, who's the Seth's manager. Would you want to control the narrative if you were a controlling type of person? Would a way to control the narrative and to control what the media says, would a way to do that, would that be to have Katie give an interview and then put out a video that purports to be new? And so my question is, was this video run by law enforcement prior to releasing it to the media? And if so, what did they say about it? And if it wasn't, why wasn't it? Because before you released it to the media, wouldn't you check with law enforcement first, just because it is a missing child? When I thought I found somebody that looked like Sebastian, I didn't immediately go live with it. The first thing I did was upload those photographs. I enhanced the photographs and I uploaded them to law enforcement. And then live streamed about it later. So my question is, before you release this video, new video that purports to see somebody, did you reach out to law enforcement first? And what did they say? That's my question. That's my follow-up question that I would have. What did they say? Did they just say, go ahead and run with it? So, and I'm not impugning Steve's credibility. I do think he's a good private investigator. I'm just wondering if he's not getting cooperation, not because it has anything to do with him, but because law enforcement doesn't like his clients. I mean, that's what, that's what we're hearing from AtNight. We're hearing about all these travels, a fake search, vacations, interesting, quote, financial transactions, cutting ties with personal contacts who question their behavior. And then contrasting that with Seth Rogers. So I don't know. I'm like really curious what you guys think about all of this. Denise says, I had bad vibes about the Proudfoots since day one. They know exactly what happened to Sebastian. I don't know. I'm not saying that they did or they do or they don't. I don't know. But I do think that there was, in my opinion, looks like, at least from the outside looking in, that there was, and I don't want to, let me take Steve down because I don't want to be like implicating Steve on this. But I think it does look like there was an effort to control the narrative, and that the effort was to control the narrative when Sebastian disappeared. And so, that bothers me. That bothers me. Michael thinks it's very bad vibes from the Proudfoot. Yeah, and if they're lying and saying that nobody reached out to them and impugning their integrity, you can see how this all ended up in a lawsuit. Yeah, I'm Team Sebastian too. Put green hearts and put Team Sebastian if you are Team Sebastian. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up, because there's going to be people that are going to be trying to quiet me for calling this out. And I don't want to have drama with anybody or anything like that, but I just feel like, somebody ran off United Cajun Navy when they came out to search. Why? Who? Why? Who doesn't want people to search? Why don't they want people to search? Team Sebastian. Yep. Chris Cindy says, I wonder if their computers were in their home, were analyzed, and bank accounts checked. Well, I don't know. Kim says, you can't find something you did away with. CJK says, but I don't get why this video is any less credible than the two lights. If it is in the YouTube world, it's like people pick and choose when they want to believe, depending on which camp there is. I think that's a really, fair statement. Has the Sumner County Sheriff's Office said that the two lights video was not credible? That would be my question back. Have they said that it was not credible? And if not, then they're not the same. But I don't impugn any of the content creators that were looking into this. I just want to make that clear. They're just, looking into everything. So I'm not saying, I want to make that really clear. If a content creator decided to go live with that and to look into it, fair enough. It was released to the media. It was the media that released this to the public. So, fair enough. I just wonder if there's, somebody out there trying to be a puppet master, trying to control the narrative on YouTube and with the mainstream media. Justice for Sebastian. Yeah, we all want Sebastian found. Mama says, not putting that pic out, no leads. If TBI or FBI got it, then why show it? Why give them more platform? Not putting that pic out, no need. If TBI or FBI got it, why should? Oh, because what? Oh, you're talking about the I don't know which picture you're talking about, because I don't know what your question came in a little bit ago, so I don't know if you're talking about the lights video. Is that what you're talking about? Sorry. I'm confused. Try to be as specific as you can. Sometimes I don't see your comments till a few minutes pass, and so I might not be on the same page. My brain may have jumped into something else. Cindy said, I believe that kid never made it back home from the barbecue restaurant. That you're talking about, the Texas Roadhouse. That's what I think. He was taken somewhere along the route. Yeah, please don't use all caps in the chat. CJK says, it makes me wonder why that was person out. It makes me wonder why was that person out at that time? Why trying to hide? It could have been anything. It could have been somebody having an affair. It could have been somebody, I have no idea. It could have been a kid out goofing around, but I don't know. And I'm not, I'm just saying law enforcement is saying that this is not relevant. And I just don't see where Sumner County Sheriff's Office has anything to gain from telling us that. So I believe them. Katie's camera in her vehicle proves Sebastian was in the vehicle when they got home from the Texas Roadhouse. Yes, it does. They will. Let's see. Georgie said, in my opinion, Proudfoots are trying to build a case for when the real truth comes out, and the real truth will come out. Veronica says there's evidence he made it back home that night after the Texas Roadhouse. They have audio from Katie's car. Yes, I heard that as well. Cindy says law enforcement are nothing like they used to be. I don't have that much faith in them these days. Well, we don't know what we don't know. You know, here's my feeling about it. I think they did, do a serious search. They did really look for Sebastian. I think they really did look for Sebastian. And I think they need Sebastian to make their case. They can't, anybody can come in and present reasonable doubt that he may have run away unless they have Sebastian. And that's why I say it's great. Let's have SF Investigates. Let's support him while he does his work and let him investigate. Let's have Dog the Bounty Hunter. Let's have AtNight. Let's have the United Cajun Navy. To me, it's like, let's get, if anybody, some professional people want to come in and investigate this, let's support them. Hey, Aggie, welcome. And you got the free channel membership from NJazz. That's wonderful. Well, welcome to the Reporter Room family. I'm glad you're with us. Yeah, so please don't disparage Steve. Don't disparage Dog. Let's not do that. Let's just focus on finding Sebastian. And just as I agree, CJK, they will never show their hand to us. No, they're not going to. Oh, okay, that's all right. Yeah, everything you guys are saying is your opinion. You can put that in your comment if you want to. Brother Mike says, I hope law enforcement knows more and is doing more than we know. And that's what I hope too. None of us want this case to go cold. Victoria said, what kind of, oh, you're talking about something else. CJK says, my thoughts on the United Cajun Navy is it wasn't the Proudfoots, but someone hateful that just likes to threaten others for whatever reason. Somewhere like that, it should have been easy enough to track it down. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, please don't put anything disparaging the private investigators that are trying to find him. I want to give them our support. I want Steve Fischer to keep looking for Sebastian. I do think he's a good private investigator. PI Chloe looked on her own for weeks after she was let go by Seth. She still went out with searchers and looked on her own. So anyway, I just want to be really careful not to impugn anybody else's good night, Mike. Enjoy your dinner. Thanks for joining us today. Georgie Girl said, I like this channel. I haven't followed very long, but started to. She stays out of the drama on her own and doesn't get into fights with them back and forth. Doesn't feel. No, yeah, we don't want to do that because that just is another way to distract. That's just like another false flag that distracts away from Sebastian Rogers, right? If we're all fighting with each other and getting into drama and not supporting the private investigators. So, I think Steve genuinely got caught flat-footed when I genuinely do not believe that he was expecting that to come out yesterday. I do not think that happened. I think that something else happened that day. That they decided to take it live. I don't know why. But that's the top story. It's being picked up everywhere. Look at this. And this is how you control the narrative. Because it's irresistible. It's got video. A private investigator hired by Chris and Katie Proudfoot. So now it's getting picked up by MSN. Says the new video could help break the case in the continued search for Sebastian Rogers. A teen with autism went missing from his mother's Hendersonville home on February 26th of 2024 and hasn't been seen since. He was last seen on Stafford Court in Hendersonville. Steve Fischer says he's focusing on a new video that could be a break in the case, break in the search. So you see how they use, they're usually using what the other people have reported and they're coming out with this. But Steve said he didn't say the words break in the search. I believe him. I don't see why he would, make that up. And he says, if you look at the video, if you look closely, there's a person in dark clothing walking in Sebastian's neighborhood at 12:17. I think there is somebody walking in Sebastian's neighborhood, but law enforcement is telling us that it is not Sebastian Rogers. So he said the person appears to hide behind a car when someone walks a dog nearby, and then the person takes off in the opposite direction. And you can see the person. Let me back this up. You can see, like right over here, the person hide, but this isn't new. That's the problem. This isn't new. So, this to me, it was a false flag to control the narrative at the 1-year anniversary of Sebastian's disappearance. And it makes me sad because it's taking away from finding Sebastian. But here, let's go to this. So, Dog the Bounty Hunter. Let me move myself out of the way. Dog the Bounty Hunter reveals who he suspects is behind Sebastian Rogers' vanishing. He revealed that he believes he was responsible for the disappearance. The former TV personality and bail bondsman sat down with Jennifer Coffindaffer, ex-FBI agent, on her Break the Case YouTube to discuss Sebastian's case after he announced plans to help track down the missing 15-year-old with autism early this month. Chapman did not shy away from who he thinks knows what happened to Sebastian. He says, quote, "I can't believe that ... the stepfather would allegedly ... run people off," Chapman said, explaining his suspicions the Proudfoots may be involved. And may is the operative word. Chapman, so this is Dog the Bounty Hunter, claimed that Sebastian's stepfather was, quote, harassing, end quote, volunteer searches, discouraging the public from tracking down the missing teen, and stating, quote, "the cops are enough for the search." So who ran off the United Cajun Navy? Who's been harassing searchers? Chapman revealed that he's been helping Sebastian's biological dad, Seth Rogers, and raising the reward to $100,000. I think it's up to $250,000 now, offering $50,000 of his own personal money. This is his own money for information about Sebastian's disappearance. So he put 50 grand from his own money into the pot. Rogers said that finding the teen, quote, doesn't feel like a shared goal with the co-parents. So he's talking about Chris and Katie here. Chapman believes that the teen was stashed somewhere due to an ongoing custody battle between the parents, according to News Nation. He said, "We're seeing a domestic squabble over a child." He said, quote, "This is one of the most horrendous cases of missing children that we have ever worked on." He added, "The bottom line is if you hurt a child like this, you've got a problem. So that is the main motivation for me to be hunting who did this." So if you wanted to control the narrative, you would put out headlines, which is what we just saw happen. Thank you. Hi, Rain Love. Thanks for joining me today. All right, guys, I'm not ending it, but I just do want to say thank you. I don't want to get too far into this and not have let me pull this down. Pink Butterfly says, "Is a neighbor walking the dog, not Sebastian." Well, that's one of the people. But what SF Investigators is trying to tell us is that yeah, there's a neighbor walking the dog, but there's someone else in the video. I agree. I think there's another person. The one thing we learned from this video, even though law enforcement is telling us it's not Sebastian, the one thing we have learned from this video is that even if you're dressed all in black, cameras can still pick you up. So for people who saying that Sebastian did run away and just wasn't picked up on camera, okay, they might be right, but then we have an instance of somebody dressed all in black and they were picked up on camera. I do want to say thank you to our producers, Enja, Sasha Angel, Mikey M, George Brown, and Pepper. Thank you for your super thanks and coffee gratitude. I really, really appreciate you all for your kindness, and thank you for your gifted channel memberships. I'm not ending. I'm just doing my thanks. I don't want to get to the end and not have thanked people. And I want to thank all of our channel members for allowing me to cover this case. So I'm not ending. I'm just Just want to just put the thank you out there. And if you haven't subscribed to Reporter Room, please. Subscribing is completely free. It doesn't cost anything. Okay, so let me go to my script because I haven't even I wrote pages and pages of stuff. Just as more stuff kept coming to light, I wrote out all my questions that I had, and in between, I think I wrote, uh, I don't know, like 10, 12 pages on this. So one of the things that just really did bother me was just the fact that this video was supposed to come out next week. It was supposed to come out next week. And we're hearing that Katie Proudfoot granted an interview to somebody that was also supposed to come out next week. So I do believe that Steve Fischer was caught on the back foot, and maybe he was waiting for law enforcement to confirm this for him, before he, put it out. And if the, media agreed to hold it, they should have honored that. But that's not always the case. If they had heard somebody else was about to go live with it, then, they're going to put it out. But, Sumner County Sheriff's Office and the TBI have gone through all of the footage from the Texas Roadhouse restaurant. We all saw a green hoodie lady, which they also debunked, where Sebastian was last seen on camera. They pulled doorbell cameras, CCTV, and I just don't think the 3 days that Steve seems really upset about is that much because, we've heard from Chris Proudfoot, if he's telling the truth on this, that neighbors were on vacation and had to be got in contact with to give permission for them to pull their doorbell cam. So one of the things that's just been bothering me, and I just can't shake this awful feeling that we are being manipulated near the 1 year anniversary of Sebastian's disappearance. Is that if they did agree with Steve to hold that footage, and maybe he was pending getting a confirmation from law enforcement, and he gave it to everybody all at once, and they agreed to hold it. It does bother me if they ran with it without his permission, because they should have waited. And it bothers me too that they didn't reach out to law enforcement themselves, like Nick Barris. And maybe they don't have an in on law enforcement. Like Nick Barris reached right out to Sumner County. They got right back to him and said, yeah, we know about the video. It doesn't have anything to do with this disappearance. So law enforcement knows who this is. So I think law enforcement does have a good idea of what they believe happened that night. And remember, we still have not seen the body cam footage from when law enforcement arrived to interview Katie Proudfoot, to interview Chris Proudfoot, to interview Seth Rogers. We haven't seen any of that footage. We don't know if any of those things differ from stories that were later told on social media. And remember, law enforcement made an Amber Alert, which means that they do believe that Sebastian Rogers was in danger and that there was an abduction. So to be clear, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office has debunked the video of the Texas Roadhouse reporting to someone in a green hoodie. And they've also said that the video that came out yesterday, they've also debunked it. So what do you think about my theory that this was an attempt to control the narrative at the 1 year anniversary of the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers? Are you watching closely? Georgie said, in my opinion, SF may have had to back off Miss Bobby just because she talked with an attorney about him putting things on YouTube about her. And you're talking about the neighbor Bobby? And SF had to come up with 2 more narratives since that one. I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but I appreciate your sharing your opinion on that. And Jessica said, I think Katie is not allowed to speak. Well, that's why they were texting her. And that's why they wondered if it was Chris Proudfoot that answered back. I think Katie's not allowed to speak. I think her husband prefers to speak for her. I think she's a very unhappy woman. I don't know if, and a mother of Miss Child, I don't know. I feel like she's in on it. I feel like she's not in on it, like she did anything, but just, I think she's all in with Chris Proudfoot. I really do. I wish I didn't think that, but I think she's all in on it. Georgie says, I had rather trust law enforcement rather than SF. It's not hard to become a PI. Well, I think SF is just, this is what I think happened to Steve. I think this was all coordinated. And I'm not saying that Steve coordinated it either. I just want to put that out there. I think there's somebody back there pulling the puppet strings, somebody who's been trying to control the narrative the whole time. Okay. But I think that Steve put this out, and I suspect, I don't know because he hasn't confirmed this, but I suspect that he put this out and then was waiting for a confirmation from law enforcement about this video, which is why he had asked the media to hold it. And then they ran with it. And if they did promise him they were going to hold it and then ran with it anyway, that's heartbreaking. And that's got to be really frustrating for him, because now his integrity is being impugned, and it's, probably unfair, because what's he trying to do? He's trying to find Sebastian too. So we want SF Investigates to help find Sebastian. We want Dog the Bounty Hunter to help find Sebastian. We want AtNight. We want all of the professional people that are willing to come in and search to help find Sebastian. Lori says, question, can we write to the county and request copies of any records that they have, like they've been doing in Florida for Maddie Soto's case? Well, Maddie Soto's in a little bit, you can do a FOIA request, but this case is Maddie Soto. They know, they've arrested Stephen. He hasn't been convicted. Stefan, they hasn't been convicted yet, but they've arrested him. So it's not, you're not going to get the same access to stuff. You can try, but because this is still an open investigation, it's not closed, I don't think they have to honor your FOIA request. Kim says, doesn't matter what we think, it's all speculation. True. Great point. Prayer Warrior, I believe Katie Proudfoot is all in with Chris Proudfoot. I also think she has some regrets. I don't know. I know the statement analysts, that the professionals like Peter Hyatt, who trains law enforcement on statement analysts, Steve Johnson, who is also a renowned statement analyst, all, had red flags in regards to statements that were, put out about Sebastian's disappearance. They all had red flags. And so, and then criminal profiler, another law enforcement professional, was also concerned about the changing stories of Katie Proudfoot. First, we have the version where, Sebastian goes to bed at 9 p.m. and that's it. Done and dusted. Version 2, we have Sebastian going to bed, and at 10 p.m. she hears a thud. She yells at him to go to bed. Version 3, we have Sebastian went to bed at 9 p.m. She heard a thud at 10 p.m. She asks if he's okay. And at 10, and the third version, he responds to her. So if that's setting off alarm bells for a criminal profiler like Pat Brown, who's a seasoned professional, then I can understand if law enforcement at Sumner County Sheriff's Office is also not really willing to show the Proudfoots everything that they have on this case. Maybe that's what's really going on. And Steve's frustration doesn't have anything to do with Steve's level of professionalism or, anything to do with anything other than maybe there's something about this case and the Proudfoots that law enforcement knows that we don't know yet. Allegedly, in my opinion. Don't come for me. Georgie Girl says, I like Peter Hyatt and Deception Detective. They both have been trained well and work incredible areas in life. Yeah. And Deception Detective, I believe, is an attorney. And Jen just says, glad you're here, prayer warrior. Holly says, Jessica, do you remember Chris Proudfoot saying, I wish people would just accept that we may never get the answers that we want? I don't remember that. I remember him saying something along the lines. He has made some bizarre statements, and I had it. I don't think I covered it in the last video. I had it in my notes for the last video that I did, but I don't think I got to it because I had so much other stuff to unpack. But there was some stuff that was said. Let me see if I have it, if I can pull those notes up. Hold on, let me look. Because I didn't get rid of that. I didn't get rid of those notes. I still have them. So that would have been February 20th. Hold on, let me see. I did have some other quotes that set off an alarm for me. And it may just be in my notebook. I might not have transcribed it into a script. Because I do have to be careful what I say, even though I'm kind of going for it right now. Let me see. I mean, I talked about motive, means, and opportunity on the last one. And I thought P.I. Chloe gave us some insight into what she was thinking when she asked Chris Proudfoot about Katie giving Sebastian the best day ever. And I talked about the Amber Alert last time too, that law enforcement has to meet specific criteria, including abduction. So police must have a reasonable belief that a child has been abducted. Two, the age of the child must be younger than 17 years or younger. So, and, so I do think that the law enforcement does think he was abducted, and Dog the Bounty Hunter thinks this is some kind of a custody dispute. And I've told you guys, I wondered if the October 26th date was significant. And Justice, she loves their work too. I want to welcome Wanda Lorraine, a new channel member. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for joining the Reporter Room family. We are going to do a members only live stream. Not today because I've done another live stream prior to this, but I'll be scheduling that with in another day or two. And thank you to Christine Godot for your super sticker. Thank you so much. I'll put that toward my computer fund. I have started shopping because I'm going to be airing the whole Brian Kohlberger trial on my channel, which means I need to be able to cover other cases too. Let me take this down. And I just, I want to be able to, even though this one's buzzing, at least I can edit on it, even though I don't really want to live stream on it. I changed the camera on this because my camera was dying on the computer, but this is getting to the end of its life. Hey, AMC 52. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. Always trying to find out if there's anything new. And you can back up the live streams too. Well, guys, I've been live streaming now for an hour and a half. I think I'm going to leave it there. I've said everything I can think of to say. Please subscribe to Reporter Room. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. And it helps me. I can't get to 40,000 subscribers without your help. And, we're on our way. So please consider subscribing. And also, I really do want you to drop me a comment or question in the chat below, and I will try to get to them over the next couple of days. And then be on the lookout for another live stream, both on the Sebastian Rogers. We will be honoring his 1-year anniversary. And I also will be following up with other hearings. We have all these motions coming in, and Taylor filed 13. We have 5 answers so far from the judge in the Brian Kohlberger case. And so we have a lot of information on that case breaking as well. And that with that trial coming right up, I think there's just going to be more and more breaking news on the Brian Kohlberger case as we move toward that trial. So thank you for joining me today. And thank you for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. Let me know if you would like me to do a St. Patrick's Day party like we did on Valentine's Day. And if you want to BYOB, bring your own drinks and come and hang out with me, I will be glad to schedule that as well. Just let me know in the comment section below if that's something that interests you or not. And I will see you on the next live stream.